You're most welcome. I am teacher Lunya Agnes Okot. I'm a teacher of English language and literature. This is Education Online. Today, we are going to look at English language for Senior 3 and Senior 4. So the lesson is meant for Senior 3 and my dear Senior 4. We are still continuing to develop our writing skill. And in the writing skill, you remember previously we looked at how to write composition. So we are still continuing to look at creative writing. Creative writing just means creation of stories. Therefore, we are still continuing to look at all the types of composition. You remember previously we looked at one type of composition, and that was argumentative composition. So you can write it down with me. We looked at argumentative composition. Argumentative composition. Argumentative is spelled without E after the U. You drop the E and add ment, which is a suffix in this case. Therefore, it is spelled as A-R-G-U-M-E-N-T-A-T-I-V, and E is the last letter. Today, we are not going to concentrate on the argumentative composition. We're going to look at yet another type of composition, which is called expository composition. And I told you previously that expository composition is the sister of argumentative composition. Let us see how related expository composition is to argumentative composition. But first, let us write together the word expository from the word exposed. It is spelled as E X P O S I T O R Y. Expository. It is from the word to expose. To expose means to give facts about something. Therefore, this is the type of composition that deals with factual events or factual ideas. Now, we are saying it is related to argumentative because some of the characteristics are borrowed from argumentative composition. Let us see the characteristic of expository composition, because we are saying this is a type of composition that deals with facts. Therefore, right there, characteristic of expository composition. Characteristic of expository composition. Of expository composition. Now, this characteristic mean what do we know about expository, or what is it that it is embedded in the expository? How will you tell that this is an expository, this one is a narrative, this one is imaginative, and the other one is argumentative? In this case, the first thing that will make you know is that when the composition is talking about facts, facts and ideas, Apart from facts and ideas, we have what we call discursive mode. Do you see now how it is related to argumentative? You have to discuss. Here you don't narrate the story, but you discuss facts about a given topic. For instance, if you're talking about malaria, you have to write, if it is the causes of malaria, you have to write all the facts about the causes of malaria. If it is the preventive measures of coronavirus, still you have to discuss or explain by using MEI method that I taught you previously. So you need to use discursive mode. Discursive mode. Discursive is from the word discussion. That means you have to debate. You discuss it. Don't narrate. Don't say coronavirus was once said this and this. You will be narrating a story but not discussing. Just discuss and say, if you want to prevent corona, do this, this and that. So you have to give facts. Apart from this, it uses paragraph connectors. Paragraph connectors. Now, this is where we say that expository composition is the sister of argumentative. Because even argumentative, we stated clearly that it uses paragraph connectors like not only, more still, additionally, furthermore, to mention but a few, in a nutshell, firstly, secondly, not forgetting, therefore. Those are what we call paragraph connectors. So you have to connect the idea. For instance, if you're talking about the prevention of HIV and AIDS, and you have stated one point in the first paragraph, you can say, firstly, HIV and AIDS can be prevented through abstinence. Not only abstinence, but we can also prevent HIV and AIDS by the use of condoms. So you are connecting the first paragraph from to the second paragraph rather. So you see it uses also paragraph connectors. Then there is what we call definition of key terms. Definition of key terms. You have to define the key terms. Define the key terms. Just like in argumentative, key terms. Even in argumentative composition, you are asked always to define the key terms to make your composition look better than a narration. So in this case, after the definition of key terms, that's when you can now go on to write your composition in paragraphs, in sequence, from one idea to the other. You must relate the ideas from the first idea, which is in the first paragraph or second paragraph, to the next, until when you have exhausted all the ideas that you want to write or you want to put down in writings. So some of these are the characteristics of what we call expository composition. So expository is the sister of argumentative composition, or is the relative of argumentative composition. Let us not stop here, my dear learners. Let me show to you some of the sample questions, especially from National Examination Council of South Sudan. So this topic of composition writing in the National Examination Council, or the NEC of South Sudan, it is found in section 1. Therefore, it is compulsory. You cannot avoid this. It is compulsory when you reach senior 4. So my dear senior 4, even senior 3, you're not far from senior 4. Anytime you will be battling with this type of question, which I'm going to give you here. I'm going to show you how to approach this question. So you can write there a subheading beneath or below these defined key terms by saying approach to expository questions approach. Or you can say question approach. Question approach. Approach. Now, how do you approach questions, especially when you are looking at expository composition? Because today we are looking at this, expository. Let us first write down some questions, then we begin to handle them one by one. In that way, I believe you will get the concepts or the ideas of how to handle this expository question. You will even be able to identify, first of all, the question from the many questions given. So after this lesson of creative writing, I will want you to get a standard paper of Senior 4. You begin to read and identify, is this question expository? Is it argumentative? Is it narrative, descriptive, or it is imaginative composition? Now, question can be set like this under expository. Question 1, can put it there. 1, with ample. Ample is spelled as A-M-P-L-E, meaning with detailed explanation. So with ample illustration, suggest remedies to carve down rape cases to carve down rape cases. In your state. Now, this one can be one question, which looks like this. Here, the composition question here is talking about facts about rape. Now, there is already a given topic. We say that expository must be written about a given topic. Our case here, the given topic is rape or rape cases in this case. Now, you will have to define the key terms first. For our case here, let us identify the key terms. You may come here and say remedies. You can even underline it. Remedies, one of them. Then you can come and underline curve or even curve down. Rape cases. Then you come here and say rape cases. You may also underline rape cases. Then the rest, you can leave them. Now, when you have identified now key terms like this, begin to define them or to give the concept. Like in this case, remedies means solutions or ways of preventing something or control of something, to control something. Then curve down to reduce the level of rape cases. Now, you will have to define rape or rape cases, but if you define rape still, it is good enough. So rape is having sexual intercourse with a person against his or her will. Remember what I put, his or her will. That means even men can be raped. It is not only women. So if you want to say rape is having sexual intercourse against the will of a woman, then you have partly defined rape. But my dear, even men can be put under certain condition and they are forced to have sex with the women or with their fellow men. So you see, rape is both sides, for the men and the women. Now you can go ahead and cite some examples. For instance, if you sleep with a woman forcefully, or a girl, or if a woman sleep with a man forcefully, that one is already rape. Then you cite example. For instance, in our society today, or in my state, maybe a woman was gang raped, maybe a man was molested by an older woman, or a young girl was raped by the uncle. So all those are rape cases. Being forced to have sexual intercourse against your will, moreover. After you have done that in the first paragraph, come down and begin to write all the points in paragraphs, but use paragraph connectors. For instance, if you have decided that one point is for government to put strict laws, then you will come and say, firstly, now you're opening up your paragraph. Firstly, meaning the first thing that government should do should put strict laws against rapists, or to punish rapists. And you explain. Now, in this type of composition, it's just like argumentative. You use what we call MEI. MEI, my dear learners, is what I told you previously in our previous lesson. You mention a point, you explain it, and give illustration. For us, illustration is an example. Therefore, I have already mentioned the point. The point here is strict law. Put strict laws. Put strict laws. Strict laws against rape. After putting strict law, I have explained so that the perpetrators or the rapists can be punished or given heavy punishment to deter other people who may wish to rape in the future. So that one is an explanation. Then you say, example, the way government is now working together with humanitarian agencies to bring to books, or to bring to book, the rapists who raped women in Yei, in the Western Equatoria, or in the Central, or whatsoever. You give example. If your state is not Yei, still you look for examples from there. That means this topic of rape, or the given topic rape, is rampant in the whole South Sudan. So you should learn to give example. You would have used this. You get your full mark for that paragraph. Then you can come down and say, not only putting strict law, but the government can also use sensitization as a means of carving down rape cases in my state. People should be sensitized about the dangers of raping women or men. Because we say rape is not only for women. Then you say, example, if the lawmakers or even people who are concerned about the well-being of the people can come up to grassroots level and train people about the dangers of rape, rape cases would reduce. Then you would have also written another point. You keep writing until when you have exhausted all the points. Then you begin to say that, thirdly, because you're now going to the next paragraph, from the first, second to the third. Thirdly, rehabilitation centers should be put in place. And these rehabilitation centers will later be used as model centers to teach people about the dangers of rape still. So you would have written another point which is connected to the second one. So this is what we call expository composition. You're exposing the facts about prevention or remedies to rape cases. That is just one sample question. Let us look at the second question. Then if time will allow, we shall see very many questions. For instance, if a question appear like this, number two. Number two. If the question appear in this way. If our number two question is to be like this. What are the causes? What are the causes of corruption? In South Sudan. In South Sudan. This one is not an argumentative, because we said argumentative must have a standpoint. Here you don't need to develop a standpoint. You have to write flat only the facts about corruption. And in this case, you're only looking at the causes. Don't even go and look at the prevention of corruption, or even the result or the dangers of corruption, the effects. Only strict yourself or glue yourself to causes of corruption. Now, in this case, what is our keywords? Because we said you must define the keywords. That is one of the characteristics of expository. Our keyword can be corruption, even causes. Then South Sudan should be your point of focus. Now, if the question says, in South Sudan, don't give examples from the rest of Africa. In most cases, students, when they see questions like this on expository, they begin to write about corruption in Zimbabwe, corruption in Uganda. You would have gone off track. So you will lose marks for nothing. Instead of getting 15 out of 15 or 14 out of 15, you'll end up getting 0.5 out of 15. Or even 0.0. Because if you're asked to write an expository and you're narrating a story, it is already wrong. So be very careful, my dear learners of Senior 3 and Senior 4. Please, Senior 3, you should even be more careful, because I am preparing you to go to Senior 4. And Senior 4, I'm preparing you now to go to the university. So you have to be very strict here. Now here, you will define causes. Causes mean, what is that brings corruption into South Sudan? Then corruption itself is the use of resources that is not meant for you. What you don't deserve is what we call corruption. For instance, if you go and get a job as a teacher of English, but you did not study it, so you are corrupt, you're not honest. Actually, corruption, the simplest definition is being dishonest. If you're not a person of integrity, then you are corrupt in all ways, not only money, including money and other resources. Even when you cheat people, they tell you to come at 2, then for you appear at 4. That one is corruption. You are dishonest, you are not a person of integrity, you want to cheat, and that is corruption. Now, after writing the definition of keywords, you will come and begin to write in paragraph. 1, according to you, maybe you think corruption is caused by greediness of the leaders. Then you begin to write, important to note is the greediness of the leaders. Many leaders in South Sudan are very greedy. They want everything, all the resources to themselves. They are self-centered. That's why they end up grabbing all the lands, all the wealth, all the fuel revenue, and even other resources from the others. Then you can go ahead and say, example, many government officials were interdicted because of corrupting money from the government revenue treasury. Now, let me warn you about something here. When you're writing expository and argumentative, do not mention names of people. Here, you respect people. You can only use titles. Maybe you can only say, for instance, the director of the oil revenue swindled about 14 billion, but you don't say Mr. Olunya Okot swindled this amount of money. Please, when you're writing composition, you have to respect people. You respect the name, but you can use titles and you can use generalization like government officials. It is the best way of putting it. Then you go on by using paragraph connectors. You will come down and say, not only greedy leaders, but corruption is also caused by poverty. People are very poor. Therefore, they look for all means of survival. That's why you find people are dipping their hands into the government treasury or the central bank to use the money the way they like. Yet, the money is supposed to be shared by the grassroots people. So you keep writing, but developing it in a paragraph form. That way, you would have answered this type of question, which we said is an expository question. Let us look at maybe the last question. But that doesn't mean only the three are the expository question. But now you know how they look like. They always have facts, and there is no standpoint. You write facts on it. Supposing the question is in this way. Giving evidence from any African country. Now this time the question is open. Any African country. Any African country discuss the causes and prevention of conflict. So right now here, you are free to choose any country. If you decide to choose South Sudan, which is also an African country, you should be able to define the keywords. Now in our case, our keyword here, my dear learners, is prevention, then maybe conflict, even causes if you wish. But mainly, you should define what conflict is. Conflict can mean physical confrontation like war. It may not mean war per se. Remember previously, I told you that the absence or the silence of the gun may not necessarily mean peace. So even conflict in this case may not mean physical confrontation. But when the people are living in horrible situation, it is already a conflicting situation, or there is already conflict, psychological or mental conflict in that case. So you should be able to do this. After you have defined the keywords, prevention is just way of stopping conflict. Then the causes, what brings it. Now you write in paragraphs here, and you use paragraph connectors until when you finish. Please learn to summarize your work at the end of all these paragraphs. The last paragraph should be conclusion. Then you come down and summarize in just one paragraph. That is how expository composition is always written. I thank you very much. Up to this level, I believe you have now grasped the context or what expository is about and how to write it. Next time when I come back, my dear Senior 3 and Senior 4, I'll teach you another type of composition. I want you to know all of them. There are so many types still remaining. God bless you. I am teacher Olunya Agnes Okot. Bye-bye for